January, from January forward.
Yeah, that's what, and I'm gonna have to, why has been affordable time?
Because you say,
Sit out by a fire.
we're hearing from our commission.
I don't think all of our let us do that.
It's definitely don't do it.
And I'll let you
Keep
leave.
going until finally.
Well, yeah, let me know of a date that would be good, and being that it's right after Christmas, it won't be so, you know, people, you know, rush all their people to back to work, but then I thought I should have this, Christmas Eve, Christmas tree, as well as Easter.
I gotta try to get the captions done.
I can zoom in.
I'm gonna have to go see him first. I'm gonna try again tomorrow, call him, I said, that talk myself out of it, but every time I try to do something. I did, but I just was in the thought of some research done. And I haven't met.
You just threw this together.
You're last.
Am I?
I'm the first three. Yeah.
That's because you get 3 minutes to speak. We don't have to speak. We're on like 4 and 5. River Fox. It's white. It's every, it seems to me like it's a bit dark and reddish in the back. So it's just not like white eyelashes. Oh, really?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, he was there the whole time. Oh, what? And he had blonde hair, like, he's got brown hair. He's gone back home now. He's got a little dog. I haven't ever watched his dog.
I'd like to call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the City of Leesburg to order. It is November 16th, 2023 at 4:30. Please stand for the invocation and the pledge, please.
Dear Lord, we ask that you be with us today as we undertake the business for the city of Leesburg. We hope that the decisions we make today will be pleasing in your sight. Pray this in thy most holy name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everybody's had an opportunity to read the minutes. Is there any additions, corrections, or deletions? If not, I'll accept the motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Roll call.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Balasoff,
Wasn't here. I can't vote, I wasn't here.
Commissioner Carter,
Should that be the same for me too? I was absent, or
yes.
You have?
you didn't even miss me.
Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Sennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Wasn't here.
Week.
Yeah, it was.
All right, thank you very much.
I said I was here.
You were here.
I thought I wasn't here. Please amend that. I'm sorry. I was here.
Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
That's why I didn't miss you.
Oh, my bad. I'm good
Okay,
here.
thank you. All right, Ben, you want to swear everybody in first, please? Anybody that's going to speak tonight for or against needs to stand and let the staff swear you in.
Do you
If
swear,
you're not sworn in, you can't speak tonight.
do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, Dano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 16, 2023 City of Leesburg Planning Commission meeting. My name is Dan Miller. I'm Planning Director for the City of Leesburg. Staff present today includes Executive Assistant Sabrina Mitchell to my left, Deputy Director Candy Harper, Senior Planners Christine Rock and Diane Yeckel, and Planner Max Van Allen. Also, I'd like, on behalf of the staff and Planning Commission, like to recognize City Attorney Jennifer Koch, who is present here today at today's meeting. Today's agenda and a speaker's registry is available on the table next to the exit door. If you'd like to speak on a case, we ask that you would please sign that speaker's registry and hand it over to Sabrina so she can announce who is going to speak. Under the rules of participation, the meeting is conducted under the following steps and process. Number one, the chairman will announce each case. The staff will read exhibits, including maps, photos, and text into the record, and then present this information on the screens. Staff will then read a recommendation into the record and talk about the case, and the applicant will have an opportunity to speak about the request. The chairman will allow time for public comment, and the applicant will have an opportunity for rebuttal. Chairman will then close the case to the public. Commission will discuss the case. A vote will be taken, and the commission will move on to the next case. The Planning Commission is a citizen board appointed by the City Commission, and they are charged with two major responsibilities. The first is to make final decisions on cases such as variances and conditional uses. And the second is to make recommendations for issues to be heard by the City Commission. There are 5 cases on today's agenda, and all of those cases tonight will receive a recommendation. So these are not final decisions from the Planning Commission, and they will then be scheduled for 2 hearings on the City Commission agenda. So each of those cases will get a final decision at that time. For all the cases to be heard by the City Commission, we would ask that you please note the tentative dates for those hearings, which are listed in bold on the agenda. We'd also ask that we want to let you know that those dates are subject to be changed to earlier or later dates, so we ask that you check with Planning and Zoning staff if you have any questions on final dates. And finally, on behalf of the planning staff and Leesburg Planning Commission, we'd like to thank you for your participation in today's public hearing process. Mr. Chairman, staff is ready for your announcement of the first case.
All right. Bear with me for a second. All right, new business number 1. Public hearing case number LSCP 23-438, Village Palms Holding, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request for annexation, large-scale comp plan, and rezoning on 316 plus or minus acres, generally located south of State Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, just east of the Sumter County line.
Can I interrupt you just
Yes,
one
sir.
minute? Can I go ahead and announce the other one too?
Yes, sir. I was about to
Okay, I just
read
didn't-
that off.
never know when the proper time is. Public hearing case number PUD 23-439, Village Palms Holdings, can't read, Plan Unit Development. It's new business number 2. What we do is if the two cases are related, the information's basically redundant. So we introduce both cases, go over all the information, and then we vote on each one. But that way we don't go over the same stuff twice. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just about to ask you permission if we could do that, so thank you, sir. I will need to ask for your patience, as this is a very long and complicated case in terms of what we are proposing. And I believe the applicants are here to speak as well. So on the overall proposal, this is 316 acres of basically undeveloped parcels. There's a request for annexation, large-scale comp plan, and rezoning, and as the chairman stated, we're looking at the large-scale comp plan amendment and the rezoning tonight. Annexations go directly to the City Commission. That's a policy decision made by the City Commission. The large-scale comprehensive plan amendment is a request to go from Lake County Rural and Regional Office to City of Leesburg Neighborhood Mixed Use. The zoning case is requesting to rezone from Lake County Agriculture to City of Leesburg Planned Unit Development. The specific request is to allow the PUD zoning for 562 detached single-family lots. This is a mixed-use development, I might add. 264 townhouse units, 134 duplex units, 300 multifamily units, plus 130,000 square feet of commercial uses, 42,000 square feet of medical and professional office, and a 120-room hotel. Those numbers add up to about 170,000 square feet of commercial and office and 1,260 residential units. Ms. Max Van Allen is here to present the maps and photo exhibits, which will include the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. The property is located south of State Road 44 and west of Whitney Road, directly east of the Sumter County line. The surrounding city future land use designations are general commercial to the north and east and industrial to the east. The surrounding Sumter County future land use designations to the west are agriculture and commercial. The subject properties currently have a Lake County future land use designations of rural and regional office. Surrounding Lake County future land use designations include rural transition to the north, urban low density to the northeast, rural to the south and east, regional office to the north and east. The proposed future land use designation is neighborhood mixed use. The surrounding city zoning includes PUD, planned unit development, and SPUD, small planned unit development. To the west, the Sumter County zoning is A10C, which is general commercial with conventional housing. The existing Lake County zoning on the subject properties are A, agriculture, and MP, planned industrial. Surrounding Lake County zoning includes A, agriculture to the northeast and south, PUD to the north, planned industrial or MP to the east and north, and R6, urban residential to the east. The proposed zoning for the subject properties is planned unit development. Surrounding land uses include pasture to the north and south, office to the north, residential to the northeast and south, utility to the west, commercial to the west, and vacant to the northeast, south, and west. There is flood zone A distributed throughout the property. And the subject property, if you go back one, Diane, Thank you. Is within the Leesburg ISBA, but not within the city boundary. Thank you. Wetlands are scattered generally towards the north and central areas of the property as well. The properties are surrounded by Commission District 2. Signs were posted on November 3rd, 2023. Please bear with me, there were 4 signs posted. Close-up of sign 1 on the top, looking south into the property from State Road 44. The bottom image is looking north across State Road 44. Sign 1 looking east along State Road 44 and looking south into the property from State Road 44. Sign 1 looking west along State Road 44, and the bottom image is a close-up of sign 2 looking south into the property from State Road 44. Looking north across State Road 44 and looking east along State Road 44 on the bottom image. Sign 2 looking south into the property from State Road 44, and sign 2 on the bottom looking west along State Road 44. Now we have a close-up of sign 3 looking south into the property, also from State Road 44, and looking north across State Road 44, looking east on the third sign posting along State Road 44, and on the bottom looking south into the property from State Road 44. Finally, for the sign 3, looking west along State Road 44, and on the bottom, a close-up of sign 4 looking west into the property from Whitney Road. And now we have sign 4 looking north along Whitney Road, and on the bottom looking east across Whitney Road. And finally, looking south along Whitney Road and looking west into the property from Whitney Road. So that's 4 signs in total. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Max. Mr. Chairman, under the conditions of this SPUD zoning, this is one of the more complex development proposals that we've had in quite some time. It does cover over 300 acres and 1,260 units. What you'll see in this document of some total of 52 pages, a lot of those which are facades, to give you some examples of what is planned in there. You'll see the intricacies of the design work, and thank you to my staff for putting in the time to work on this. Under the conditions of the PUD zoning, what I'd like to do is go over the residential development, commercial development, access, recreation, go over the highlights, but even just doing the highlights takes a little time, so if you would bear with me, please. Under the residential areas, there are specific uses that will be permitted. And we might want to go to the site plan, Diane, if we could, please. Thank you. Detached single-family residential is developed. Attached single-family residential, which is townhomes, basically. Thank you. Villas, which is duplexes, and then multifamily units. So those 4 types. There's no triplexes in here, but singles attached, duplex, and multifamily. On the commercial area, you'll have a variety of uses. That will be located along County Road 44. There we go. Right along here, okay? Those would have the ability to include medical offices, pharmacies, urgent care, veterinary services, those kind of things on the medical side. And then the general retail uses you would find along a roadway. Coffee shops, restaurants, daycare, fitness centers, personal services, meaning hair and nails, things like that. Hotels, house of worship. Also, and then professional offices, of course, I think I did mention that one. Prohibited uses within this document are very specific. Industrial uses, auto sales. That's not auto repair, but auto sales. Tattoo parlors, check cashing stores, adult uses, internet cafes, pawn shops. Okay. Essentially, any use that's not on the permitted use is technically prohibited. Within the development, on the single-family detached side, there are 3 different lot sizes, 50, 60, and 70 feet lot sizes. On the 50-foot lots of that 562, I believe the number was, a maximum of 315 can be the 50-foot lots. That would be 50 by 120 with 6,000 square foot lot size, which is a bit larger than what we've done in some of the other PUDs. Those would have a minimum house size of 1,600 square feet. The 60-foot lots would be 60 by 120s, and that would give you a 7,200 square foot lot size and a minimum house size of 1,700 square feet. And then on the 70-foot lots, there's a, excuse me, let me back up. There's a minimum of 315 on the 50s, a minimum of 161 on the 60s, and a minimum of 86 on the 70-foot lots. So those would be 70 by 120 with 8,400 square feet and a minimum house size of 1,800 square feet. So those are consistent to a little larger than what you've seen recently in the past. All those lots will have 25-foot setbacks, gutter requirements for anything with less than a 7.5-foot setback. We have the dark sky lighting, the 2 trees in each yard, architectural standards, and 2 car garages. On the attached, the townhouses, the attached single family, that gives us a maximum of 264 townhouse lots. Those would be 22 feet wide each unit, which is a standard townhouse size. Gives you a 2,200 square foot lot. And remember, on a townhouse, you take your single families, basically squeeze them together. You own right up to the line, and you own the front and the backyard. It's just the houses are together, but you are a fee simple property owner. 25-foot front setbacks again, 1,500 square foot living area, 2 car garages. For the villas, i.e. the duplexes, that maxes out at 134 units. You get a 4,200 square foot lot, 70 feet wide. That's 35 feet per side. One building has 2 units, so each side has 35 feet in width. Pretty standard size that we've seen. 1,200 square feet per unit minimum, so you got a 2,400 square foot building. Remember, that building has 2 units, and a 1-car garage on each side, one on each side. For the multifamily units, there's a max.
Can I
Yes,
stop
sir.
you just for a second? Are those duplexes going to be villas as in they're sellable? Or are they going to be duplexes as in rental duplexes?
Everything here will have to be platted and can be sold. However, staff and
But I
the
mean,
city cannot control.
Duplexes, can they be sold per unit or per building?
A duplex would have to be sold per lot, meaning you get 2.
Okay.
You get 2
All right.
living units on it.
Because
those are built on
usually
a
are
lot.
sellable, almost like townhouses, but not only one story.
Right, a
I just wanna
townhouse,
clarify
right, those
that.
are one story, but if you buy a duplex lot, you're actually buying 2 units on one lot.
And these are the ones in brown?
Yes, sir. That's the commercial area up here.
Right.
These are the 300 apartment units. These are townhouses, and there's duplexes down along here.
See the color code up top.
Yes, and now hopefully I'm reading that. It's a little bit blurry, but I'm getting older. So,
Okay.
Mr. Miller,
yes, go ahead.
the applicant has informed me that the duplexes will be fee simple per unit.
Awesome. And so we have did we go over the multifamily units yet? I don't think so.
You were
Okay.
just starting.
300
So I
units there. What we're showing here is 4 different sizes. To get a studio unit, one person starting out, that's a 700 square foot small studio unit. The 800 feet would be a 1-bedroom unit. A 2-bedroom unit would be 900, and a 3-bedroom is 1,000. So it graduates by bedroom up. On the commercial side of the development, and again, that's rolling right along the 44 up here, we're looking at 130,000 square feet of commercial development permitted, in addition to 42,000 of medical and professional office. And then potentially, there are no guarantees, but potentially one of these buildings could be some type of hotel. So for all development in this PUD, there are architectural standards. Those standards are reflected in either this PUD document or in the case of apartments and commercial development, they are required by Section 25-360 of the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances, which is a standard, our architectural standards. Everything that is being shown to you in this packet meets those standards. So we wanted to be sure that was done. Other requirements for the overall development, everything now, instead of just the residential or commercial side. Staff believes in dark sky lighting. And to explain a little bit about, just real quickly about the dark sky lighting, all we're looking for is that the lighting is shielded and directed so it's not glaring off on the neighbors. And with the new LED technologies and things like that, it's a lot better than it used to be. But that's, when we talk about dark sky lighting, we're talking about the shielding and directing of the light sources. Also required in here is additional guest parking in the residential areas. That's something that I think this board has talked about, this commission, excuse me, has talked about in the past. The 35% open space, there's a 25-foot buffer around the exterior boundary of the property. The southern and eastern boundary has fencing requirements. Now, there are 3 major access points on the property. One on the west here, one here, and I believe one here, if I'm seeing that correctly. Technically, there's 4, but we're looking at these 3 as our primaries. Those are all on State Road 44, and those are required to be made as a boulevard-type roadway, not just one lane in and one lane out, but the larger lane widths, a 10-foot landscape buffer in the middle so that it separates the traffic, and plus, so that's on all 3 of those, and so that allows, in case of emergency, ambulance, fire, anything like that, they can get around the lanes. So under recreational requirements within this.
You said there was a 4th.
Let's see. Right here. We anticipate that to be a right-in, a right-out.
Okay.
Maybe a right-in, but more than likely just a right-out. So, but that's up to FDOT. So, under the recreational requirements, there are no less than 3 primary recreational areas. They have to include swimming pools, fenced playgrounds for the children, separate dog park areas, and there's also a trail system that runs around, if you can look through these recreation areas. I want to indicate that's a swimming pool there, that's a swimming pool there, and the trail areas run, so every neighborhood has access to a trail. The other requirements are the standard PUD requirements that you see on all the PUDs: protection of wetlands, restrictions on the types of grass. In other words, Bahia and Bermuda are fine. We don't want St. Augustine because it's a water hog. And of course, they'll have to work with FDOT and Lake County on anything to do with State Road 44 to get their access points. And that would also include possible signalization, turning lanes, widening of roads. That is controlled and run by FDOT, but we would anticipate that they would be very active in working with this. So moving to the, so thank you for your patience there. Moving to the department responses, there were no substantive comments from the city departments. There is this development will be required to connect to city water and wastewater, so there's no well, there's no septic here. Natural gas will have to be in 80% of the detached single-family units per city code. Lake County School Board did note that there are capacity issues at the elementary and high school level. That, in those cases, the developer is required to work with the school board on what's called a proportionate share mitigation agreement. This is a form of mitigation where the developer agrees to a payment necessary to provide the student stations that are created, in other words, the demand that is created by this development, by the number of homes. And those have to be approved, have to go through the city commission as well as the school board. Public Works in Lake County, we send these out to Lake County as well. Public Works. They requested right-of-way along Whitney Road, although the current plan does not show access along Whitney. The Public Works Department, as it's their road, has the right to do that. And, okay, now this one was a surprise. We didn't receive any comments from the surrounding property owners.
Wow.
We sent out the letters, we advertised in the newspaper, put it on the, we did everything you're mandated by law to do. We didn't receive any. Now, I don't know if there's anyone here that wants to speak on this one. If there is, of course. But, so finally, if I may go ahead and read in the recommendations. Thank you. For Village Palm Holdings, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, case number LSCP 23-438, the Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. One, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.318 for Florida statutes for large-scale comprehensive plan amendments. Two, the proposed request is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of Lake County Regional Office, Rural Transition, Sumter County Agriculture and Commercial, and City of Leesburg General Commercial. Three, the proposed request is compatible with the proposed zoning of PUD planned unit development. And four, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element, goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment from Lake County Rural and Regional Office to City of Leesburg Neighborhood Mixed Use and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. On the next case, the zoning case for Village Palm Holdings, rezoning from Lake County A Agriculture and MP Planned Industrial to City of Leesburg PUD Planned Unit Development. For case number PUD 23439, Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. The proposed request for a PUD plan unit development zoning is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts, including Lake County A Agriculture, R6 Urban Residential, Sumter County A10C, which is general agriculture with conventional housing, and with City of Leesburg PUD and SPUD zoning categories. Two, the proposed request for the proposed future land use designation of neighborhood mixed use is compatible with the proposed zoning of PUD plan unit development. Three, city utilities are available or are to be extended along State Road 44 to meet the needs of future development, and that is at the developer's cost, not the taxpayer. Four, the proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to surrounding properties based on the location and proximity to compatible development, and I would like to add, and the PUD standards therein. The action requested is a vote to approve the proposed rezoning from Lake County Agriculture and MP Planned Industrial to City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Would like to point out, Mr. Chairman, one other feature on this map. There's a roundabout here, and staff is stating that we'd like to see roundabouts here and here to keep the traffic flowing. I know that's a relatively new idea in Lake County. This is a fairly low traffic environment compared to being on a larger roadway. But we believe that the roundabouts will allow people to not have to stop and keep the traffic flow significantly better than a standard four-way stop. And again, we talked about the trails, the swimming pools. So there's a lot of recreation involved. Very large buffer on the west side here, Sumter County. If you notice in the design, the retention ponds are strategically, as much as possible, placed where they can do the most good. Now, that is a function of the geography of the land, but they have tried to do that. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Any questions from staff? Okay.
Dan, excuse me, yes, Mr. Chairman. As you know, guest parking has always been an issue for me.
Yes.
Could you show me what they're planning on doing with guest parking?
Yes, sir.
especially when you have just one parking place for a duplex.
Max, I need your young eyes. We're talking about, and help me out, Max. Right here, these brown areas. Those are additional guest parking here. Anywhere you see that brown strip
Okay?
is intended to be, it's a multi-use situation where some of it will be for the parking for the rec areas. We anticipate this to be used frequently for guests.
And Public Safety didn't request any emergency exit on Whitney Road?
No, sir,
Nothing whatsoever?
nothing. I believe they're satisfied with
The three? The four.
these up here. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Is the applicant here?
Bring any pizza?
Pardon me?
Did you bring any pizza?
Pizza and beers in the lobby. Greg Belleva with LPG, 1162 Camp Avenue, representing the applicant. Just some other items. Dan mentioned some of the things we did for the design. Actually, the original design showed the retention ponds a little further inland, not on the property lines on the southeast. We purposely moved them to the southeast in recognition to the homes that were there on the southeast, because we felt that those homes would be better off if they had no residential units abutting the property lines. So we moved those on the southeast and as well as on the finger that goes down. So that way those property owners would be protected with no homes. They have the buffers, and they have the water retention ponds. So when they look out their backyards, they're going to look at basically landscaping and an open space. Also, glad it was mentioned that the earlier renditions did have access to Whitney Road. We met with Seth Lynch over at Public Works in the county, and after discussions with him, we felt that it would be more prudent for us to have no impact to Whitney Road and move all our impacts to 44. He did ask for the right-of-way, and we have consented to the right-of-way to Whitney Road. For whatever future the county wants to do on Whitney Road, they'll then have adequate right-of-way from us. What they need to do for the other side, for right-of-way, that's up to the adjacent property owners on the east side. But we'll have donated our side. So we've consented to that. On some other considerations, we purposely designed this with a sort of a north-south orientation. The line that Dan mentioned, where the road goes east and west, we already have, there's already an existing PUD in the center there that's a mixed use. And basically what we try to do is, with our two fingers going north there, is kind of mirror that existing mixed use PUD, and so that we didn't have any conflicts there. Where we're commercial, that one there is pretty much commercial. Where our multifamily, it's multifamily. And so it's sort of three tracks that kind of mirror each other along 44. There's linkage with ours, because we know that there is a, if I could, can I borrow your, these are, thank you. With the one here, you require interconnectivity between parking and along 44. So we know that when this track here develops, there will be a linkage with our drive across. We already know that there's going to be a linkage here. That's how we're getting to the intersection across the street. We figure pretty soon there's going to be a warrant that's going to get a traffic signal here. We're going to go ahead and pay. We'll pay for that. So when that traffic signal gets required, that's going to go in. So that's a given. The traffic study has already been completed. The environmental has already been completed. We're okay on the LOS on 44. That's in the file. That's already here in the planning department. Like I said, this is the magic line. The topic, Ted, about the visitor parking was brought up early, and our developer took that to heart. That's why there's a chart up top. That's the parking chart. We have extra parking within the multifamily pods. We have extra parking in the townhouse pods for guests, as well as extra parking in the single family. So we took that suggestion and incorporated it throughout the project. Dan pointed out the recreation. We knew that because of the scope of this project, we had to have recreation to accommodate the residents. And each phase has a recreation component linking the residents to their recreation amenity. And of course, it's not just for them. If they want to go from here to here, they're obviously allowed to do so. So that's built into it. The large lots are along the perimeter.
Thank you very much.
All right. Where we do have lots of budding property owner. These are all the large lots. And we have the open space, open space, open space. So we're very cognizant to who our neighbors were. All the small lots are interior. They were designed that way, and the PUD reflects that as a condition. We can't move them. So they're going to stay that way. These are all single family, and all the rental are north of the demarcation line. That's it in a nutshell, and I'll wait to answer any questions from anybody else.
Okay. Is there any questions from the applicant?
What about those roundabouts that Dan mentioned?
Well, that was a new one. This one, I think we can squeeze one here because there's so much open space here. That one, we've got some area here on the buffer we can work with, and there's the townhouses are here. That one, but we'll work and see if we can get
He
it.
just hates losing units.
Yeah.
Might have to sacrifice a lot.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, if you look at the attachments to this baby, I think this one has a record number of attachments. Dan has attachments to show how we're landscaping the islands within the roundabouts. There is one item I'd like to address for consideration for an amendment. On the fences, we don't have a problem with the fences. We don't have a problem for the location of the fences, but along part of our property line, we do have canopies of trees. And we'd like to forego taking down trees to put the fences in. So where there's an existing canopy of opaque trees, could we leave them and then just pick up the fence between those tree canopies? And we'll, have the city staff come out, say, okay, here's the tree canopy. Can we pick up the fence from A and then continue on to the next tree canopy and then stop and then continue on? And that's the only change we'd like to have to the PUD.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I think that's a really good idea, and we should have picked up on it, and I appreciate Greg bringing that up. Diane's an arborist, and I can, if it's all right, we'll add some language that allows the city's qualified tree person, which is Diane, to work with the applicant to preserve trees along the edge or something like that. I would like to be able to do some language like that because that is a good idea, and sorry that we didn't have it in there.
Okay. With the fence built out of it.
It's all different materials.
All different.
Yeah, they're right there.
It's also for security as well as visual.
Yes.
Okay.
But we're not a prison, and we don't have escapees living there.
Right.
So, so it's not like...
No gaucho wire or nothing like that?
No. We don't have razor wire. And one of the things that communities several years ago got away from was putting up fences for the purposes of keeping communities like this away from their neighbors and their neighbors outside of these communities. Because one of the things we're hoping is our neighbors will come in and utilize the services that are here rather than driving, to, Brownwood or to, et cetera, et cetera. It cuts down on trip lengths. And so that's one of the things that you try to do. And that's the purpose of it, and get to know who your neighbors are. And that was a thing that a lot of cities and actually a lot of cities actually did away with even allowing these, period. They don't even allow perimeter fences at all in any of their communities. They just said, we're not doing that anymore. We would like to see people get to know each other. But we don't have a problem with these. That's fine. We'll put them up, and again, with that one caveat. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Any other questions?
this time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Were you sworn in?
No.
Okay.
No, but I can swear myself.
All right. Anybody wants to speak, please come forward. If anybody's going to speak, they have to be sworn in. This is the last time we're swearing in, so anybody else need to speak, please stand up now. Okay, thanks.
Maybe just
Wait, we got to swear you in first.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I'm John Carmichael. I'm one of the residents on the southeast corner of the property. And there's several other residents here as well from the southeast corner. I had a question because maybe I missed it in the presentation there earlier about now the water and sewer is going to be piped in from the city of Leesburg.
Yes,
So it'd be lift stations pumping it back out and water in. And okay, so I wasn't sure if there were sewer plants going in somewhere. We'd have to, with drain fields and the whole.
Oh, no, sir. No, the city does not allow any new development to be on well and septic. It all has to be on water and wastewater.
Okay, all right, because that was one. And then two, talking about the tree canopy, of course, that's right on our line there as well. So depending on how that goes in or what barrier. And of course, I know as a resident that lives in the county, we enjoy, of course, a lot of times our privileges to enjoy our firearms at times, but I know with the city moving in next door like that, that privileges may be squashed, but at any rate, that's something to consider as well. It's part of our rights as citizens, of the United States and in the county as well. I get it in the city limits. That's a hindrance, but we're still in the county across the line. So I just mentioned, just checking on that because we all had some sort of concerns on what it was. And two, as far as the retention ponds, are they going to be so deep that there'll be water all the time in them, or the mosquito ponds, or are they just a water retention during heavy rainwater? Or
I believe we required fountains in each retention pond. And the other issue, Mr. Carmichael, is that the maximum slope allowed under the city regulations is 4 to 1, so 4 feet out to 1 foot down. So it's a gentle slope, which does make it a fairly large pond. But I would have to refer to an engineer to tell you if they're going to be dry or wet, because I don't know that.
Right.
But if they are wet, then they're going to have a aerator fountain feature in them,
right,
to keep that from occurring. That was one of the things that we talked about when this was being written.
And then, okay, and I'm sure
We don't want the mosquito ponds either. Nobody does.
All right, and I'm sure y'all did the wildlife study and all that with all the eagles and the gopher turtles and the various critters running around there. So, all right, I just, like I said, I thought I missed something there, and I wanted to double check while we were.
And what we'll do is after everybody gets an opportunity that's going to speak, we'll have the applicant come back up, and if there's still questions that weren't answered, we'll have them address those.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Oops.
Hey, my name's Stefan Tucker. I live at 31701 Whitney Road. So it's right up against this. If I wanted a neighborhood, I would have moved to a neighborhood. I don't want that next to me. It is, a voice of my opinion. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Wow. Where did Gary? Yeah.
I'm still here. See if there's anybody else. Okay.
Could you lend an answer to the retention area?
Well, the retention areas are going to be designed whether, if they are wet, we have to meet the aeration requirements. And if you'll notice on the design, they're anticipated, and they already have 3 fountains shown in one of them and 2 in another. Our residents don't want mosquitoes either. So, they're going to be properly maintained. So, as you can see, they're all, they're anticipated to be wet. So, they'll be properly maintained accordingly. The other item is the tree canopy. that's one of the reasons why I wanted the condition that we not have to cut your trees down, our trees down either. Well, actually, not yours, can't touch yours. The ones on our side to put the fence up, because it didn't make sense. So we wanted to keep the tree canopy
No, I was just
intact.
curious what kind of fence would go there.
Well, the city has given us the type of type of fences to put. So you can take a gander of it in the PUD and see which version they've selected for the south side. If you don't like that one, you want to pick one of the other designs, let Dan know you want option B instead of C, and we'll put you whatever one you want. The other one is the living with the firearms. If you want, you personally have a right to. I live next to 1,100 mobile homes in my neighborhood with my neighbors. I think several of you know where I live. Firearms get shot off every so often, and our neighbors have learned to live with them too. So it's just we are in a state where that is perfectly okay. And everybody's learned to live with it, and that's just we know where we live, and we know that's something we have a right to do, and and if you want, we'll put a notice in our HOA docs that there are feisty neighbors, and but I don't think that's going to be a problem. But they're
not aiming you.
Yes, just don't put the targets up against the property. Because we had sheriffs come out to check where ours were. But those are kind of things that we can handle. Yeah, we're all on central water and sewer. We did have an environmental assessment done. We turned it in. That was completed. So, and nothing scary was found. Normal stuff, gophers, and we can't make stew anymore, so you have to find a new home for them. So those are normal things. So, but that's it. I mean, we've tried to take to heart all the input from the staff. We met with some other folks, and that's when the new parking ratios came up, and we accommodated them. And we tried to accommodate our neighbors by making sure we had as much consideration with the open space of the buffers and the other ones with the largest lots. So with anything else, I'll be glad to.
Yes, one more thing, just for clarification, this mainly for the neighbors. The entry and exits are going to be from 44 and no other adjacent surrounding.
We are not impacting Whitney. We're donating right away. We have no accesses, and if you notice, it's all buffer along Whitney Road.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Any other questions before we close to render a decision? All right, we're closed to the public. Any discussion? My main discussion, I'm glad that there's no exits on Whitney.
Correct.
I mean, that's the first thing that I thought about, because I've been up and down that road many times.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking about is for emergency purposes or something of that nature, but I'm not ingress and egress.
Yeah.
Wow. All I can say is wow. It's going to be a major impact.
It is.
It really is. More people. I don't know how we can stop them.
Mr. Miller, I'm sorry. The road 44, that's going to be addressed by DOT and the
Yes,
county.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That roadway is under DOT authority, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure on this if the curb cuts go to DOT or the county, but DOT is involved every step.
Okay. So any changes or adjustments going to be made on their part? We have no control.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. With the development that went in not the development, the zoning, there's a big difference there. But the zoning that went in here, which was the crossings at 44, there was concern and people wanted to see a stoplight here. And I'm not sure that development alone would be enough to warrant a stoplight, but this makes a big difference. And despite the fact that there will be more traffic and more people, that light will probably make it much, much safer. That seems contradictory, but traffic works that way sometimes.
Right, and that's what this developer said, that they were going to pay for that.
Mr. Bello did indicate that, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If and when it comes up.
Yes, if and when.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a comment. I'm just looking at something in the notes here for the a letter that was sent to Mr. Michael Rankin from the Lake County School Board.
Yes.
Was that mentioned before? I didn't remember that.
We mentioned that there would have to be a mitigation agreement between the developer and the school board because of that letter.
What the letter does say that the staff has determined that elementary and high school capacity is not available at this time to serve the proposed residential development.
And they sent in their $5,000 check 2 days ago, and they are now in the process of working out the mitigation.
Okay.
There's room.
Other discussion is I feel this is a very dense, it's almost 5 units per acre, more or less, I think. I would like to see this reduced in the total living units, dwelling units.
It could go like 4.
It's 4. It's multifamily.
It's 4.
It's 4?
Yes.
Okay. I still think that's too high.
It's 4 in total, and it's less than 3 in the single family.
Yeah, you can't. There's multifamily.
I know.
Then there's single family.
I just am not in favor of a lot of multiple family development in what I consider country land right now. It's just a personal opinion. I still am concerned about the road conditions, ability to support that increase. How many total units is it? 1,100 something?
1,260. I believe it was 1,260.
1,260 on
316.
And we got how much wetlands is on this property? Acreage?
There's a small band that goes through the center.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But we did a traffic analysis, and our level of service was fine on 44.
Okay.
Can I ask another question in regards to the school?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Did they ever consider a charter school for that area with that much housing?
The Lake County School Board they don't do charter schools. They only do public schools. And our mitigation is for us to prepay our impact fees based on how much the number of children we're creating is over the amount. And they do compute the fact that we are impacting this negatively. And I asked, how did they compute that? The fact that we are over the amount. They included all of the developments that have yet to be built south of 48. So those children aren't really in school yet. So they book the children that aren't yet arriving. They just book all of the children that may arrive based on the projects that have been approved. So
44 or 48?
48.
Okay.
All the development.
So it's so we're going in the pool with all the projects that have been approved in the past. Now, if we develop earlier than they do, and we get to the schools and there are stations available, but we've already prepaid our impact fees and everything, there could be school seats available, and then they don't need to add any buildings or anything because there aren't really any need to add them because the kids that they were booking for south of 48 haven't yet arrived. But it's an imperfect process, but it's the process. So we're going to go through the process. We're going to go through as they require. We'll prepay the impact fees when we're required to, and they'll have the money.
I understand that. I understand that. I was just asking if there was just any consideration because the kids are coming.
Well, I wish there are charter schools that hopefully will come because, there is land available if they would show up and build them, but they're not here yet.
No, I understand that. That just would make it a more favorable project if that was taken into consideration, because if we're going to have multifamily units, and then the schools, all of Leesburg schools are at capacity. Everybody knows that.
But you can't force a charter school to show up.
Oh no, I understand, but I'm just saying on the developer. No, but I just yes, and I'm going to state my opinion and how I feel about the schools and how it impacts the community, no matter how long it takes.
Okay.
But I'm going to be respectful of everybody's time, but I also want to serve my purpose here as a member of the community and someone who's in a community that is going to be probably impacted by that because the kids are going to come. And so if these developers are going to develop here, then we need to make more plans than just leaning on the school system. We need to be proactive, and this is for developers and staff to encourage being proactive as a school, having a school solution for the kids.
The current solution is for us to go ahead and prepay our impact fees.
But that's really, I understand what you're saying.
On their part, the school
I understand
board's part,
what you're saying.
To then take that money and then build the stations to accommodate.
And like I just said, it's okay to be proactive and not just lean on the school board. And because there's developments out there that say, hey, we're going to develop and we're also going to add this part. Just like you can add a hotel, you can add a charter school. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
We could find one. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. Any other questions?
Just a quick question.
Okay.
The property that's fronting Highway 44 between these two access points, is that the seller's property that was approved for development? Okay, I was just curious.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Open for amendment or a motion, I mean?
I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing case number LSCP-23438, Village Palms Holding.
Okay, are we going to add the three round or have the three roundabouts?
It's actually in there. I was just pointing out that it's in there. I'm sorry.
All three of them?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the PUD. We wanted to ask about we would like to, if you would, amend such that we can work with the applicant in regard to the trees and fences.
With the amendment of working with the applicant with the trees and the fences.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second? Okay. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Commissioner O'Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Sennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
No.
Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
No.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Okay. Then on the public hearing case number PUD 23-439, do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing case number PUD 23-439, Village Palms Holding.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Or, sorry, roll call. We just started doing roll call.
Commissioner Carter,
No.
Commissioner Marshall,
No.
Commissioner Sennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. And that's it. I want to remind everybody that this is going before the City Commission on December 18th and February 12th. And that's when they'll be voting on it on the 12th. So just so you know, it'll be all this again. So you have an opportunity to go to those meetings too. Okay. All right, getting through my agenda.
You find it.
It's a long agenda.
Canal Street.
Okay, public hearing case number RZ 23-454, CAC Canal Street, Track B, RZ rezoning. Is there a PUD in it too?
No, sir.
Okay.
Straight rezoning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This next case is basically a land swap to clear up boundary lines and allow appropriate future development for the Children's Advocacy Center and the Community Development Corporation, as well as Pine Street area. And both these are located on, Canal Street. Property is generally located south of Pine on the east side of Canal Street. So if you know where the Children's Advocacy Center is and the CDC right next door. Basically, this request will resolve a building encroachment issue from 314 Canal Street, South Canal Street, onto 300 South Canal Street and correct a split zoning on the properties. And when I'm talking about a split zoning, I'm talking about one piece of property with two separate zoning categories on it, which is, for me, an absolute no-no. Not that it can't be done legally and everything else, but I don't like those kind of things because they make administering the code very difficult. So with that, the specific request then is to rezone Tract B, which we'll show you, from SPUD, small plan unit development, and R3, high-density residential, to P, public. So Ms. Max Van Allen's going to present the maps, photos, exhibits, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zone, and CRA maps.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. On the aerial map, the subject property, which is specifically going to be Tract B, right in here, highlighted. So you can see it's 0.08 acres for rezoning requesting today. It's south of Pine Street and east of South Canal Street, directly in between 300 Canal Street and 314 Canal Street. The subject property is currently zoned SPUD, small planned unit development, and R3, high density residential. You can see just this tiny sliver of R3 over here, which creates the split zoning. The surrounding zoning includes SPUD to the north, R2 medium density residential to the east, P public to the south, and C2 community commercial to the west. The proposed zoning on Tract B is P public. The existing future land use designation on the subject property is institutional. There is no change to the future land use proposed. The surrounding future land use designations include institutional to the north, east, and south, general commercial to the north, and low-density residential to the west. Surrounding land uses include institutional to the north and south, vacant to the east and west, and commercial and office to the west. The subject property is located within the Greater Leesburg Community Redevelopment Area. There are no flood zones or wetlands on the property. The subject property is located in Commission District 4, and signs were posted on November 3rd, 2023. On the top image, you can see a close-up of the sign on the property looking in from South Canal Street. The bottom image is looking north along South Canal Street and looking east into the property from South Canal Street and looking south along South Canal Street. And finally, looking west across South Canal Street. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max. So this is basically a simple zoning to a standard zoning district. It doesn't have any conditions like the PUDs and everything like that that we normally see. Just going straight to public zoning. Under the departmental review summary, there's no substantive comments from any of the city departments. This is not one that had to go to the school board, and we got nothing back from Lake County Public Works. No public responses were received from this one either. Under the recommendation, For project CAC Canal Street rezoning the request to be rezone Track B from SPUD and R3 to P Public for case number RZ 23454. Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval for the following reasons. Number one, the proposed request for a P Public zoning is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of City of Leesburg, SPUD, Small Plan Unit Development, Public, High Density Residential, Medium Density Residential, and C2 Community Commercial. Two, the existing future land use designation of City of Leesburg Institutional is compatible with surrounding future land use designations of Leesburg General Commercial, Institutional, and Low Density Residential. And three, the proposed request will resolve a building encroachment issue from 314 South Canal Street onto 300 South Canal Street and correct a split zoning on these properties. And then four, proposed request does not appear to create a detriment to the surrounding properties based on the location and proximity to compatible development. Therefore, the action requested is to vote to approve the proposed rezoning from City, SPUD, and R3 High Density to P Public and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Mr. Chairman, we have Ms. Meredith Kirsty of the Kirsty Law Firm of Leesburg here to represent this case and answer any additional questions you may have. Thank you, sir. Staff is recommending approval.
Any questions of staff? No. Ms. Kirsty, have anything you'd like to add?
I do not. I'll be glad to answer any questions if the board has any.
So any questions of the applicant? All right. Well, we'll close to the public and render a decision.
First of all, Mr. Chair, I just want to let it be known that I do sit on the CDC board.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so you'll have to sit out on that one.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Okay, any discussion on it? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, on case number RZ 23454, I recommend approval.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Bowersox?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders?
Yes.
Commissioner Senate?
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall? I'm sorry. Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, new business number 4, public hearing case number SSCP 23461, River Fox Commons, small scale comprehensive plan. And there's a PUD to that one, right?
Yes, sir.
And new business number 5, public hearing case number PUD 23462, River Fox Commons Plan Unit Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For these two cases known as River Fox Commons, by way of background, this is a request for an annexation, small-scale comp plan, and rezoning for 15.34 acres, which is generally located east of Montclair Road, south of Colonial Street, at the end of Gregory Street, which is off of Montclair Road, as you can see on the maps. The overall proposal, again, is 15.34 plus or minus acres undeveloped land. We'd have a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment request from Lake County Urban High Density to City of Leesburg Low Density, and the rezoning case to rezone from Lake County R6, which is urban residential, to City of Leesburg PUD planned unit development. The specific request is to allow this PUD zoning for a 92-unit multifamily development for senior living. Ms. Christine Rock, Senior Planner, will present the maps and photo exhibits, including the aerial zoning, future land use, surrounding land use, wetlands, flood zones maps, and CRA maps.
Good evening. All right. The subject property is located east of Gregory Road, north of Deborah Avenue, and south of Colonial Street. The property is adjacent to Leesburg low-density residential future land use to the south. The property has a current future land use of Lake County urban high density and is adjacent to the same future land use to the northeast and west. The proposed future land use is low-density residential. The property is adjacent to Leesburg low-density residential zoning to the south. The property is currently zoned Lake County High Density Residential and is adjacent to the same zoning as well as neighborhood commercial zoning. The proposed zoning is Leesburg Planned Unit Development. The surrounding land uses are primarily residential, vacant residential, and there is some vacant commercial to the northwest. The property is located to the south of the Carver Heights Community Redevelopment Area. There is flood zone located in the northwestern and southwestern areas of the property. Wetlands are also located in the northwestern and southwestern areas of the property. The property is adjacent to Commission District 2. Pictured is a close-up of the public notification sign looking into the property from Gregory Road, as well as looking south from Gregory Road. And these are looking south from Gregory Road and looking west along Gregory Road. This is a close-up of an additional public notification sign which was posted looking from Deborah Avenue, as well as looking north into the property from Deborah Avenue. This is looking east from Deborah Avenue, as well as looking south along Deborah Avenue. And lastly, we have looking west from Deborah Avenue. That is all I have.
Thank you, Christine. Under the conditions of the PUD zoning, the permitted uses include a multifamily use with a maximum of 92 units. That's 5.99 units per acre gross density. I'd like to note that this is the same density as allowed under the Lake County R6 zoning as it sits right now. The prohibited uses would include anything not specifically called out as permitted in the permitted uses. So the prohibited uses, the same as usual with the internet cafes, the tattoo parlors, check cashing, adult uses, anything like that. The development standards are going to come from our low-density residential portion of our code where it's not conflicting with the PUD. The PUD would rule in that case. Give you some examples of that. In this parcel, we're asking for a 25-foot perimeter buffer, the 35% open space, 100-foot setbacks on the front, 50 feet on the rear, and 100 feet on each side from the building structure. Not an accessory structure, but the main building structure where people would live. There are architectural standards required. In the bedroom sizes, you've got a one-bedroom of 700, a two-bedroom of 800, and a three-bedroom of 950. We're requiring a 6-foot PVC fence along the north, south, and east for security buffers. The amenity package would require a pool house, 5-foot walking trail, and could we go to the site plan, please, Diane? Walking trail, picnic pavilion, and a gazebo. Everything else in this PUD is standard PUD language in terms of wetlands, flood zones, all those things that have to be protected. Under the departmental review summary, the project was sent out to all the departments. We didn't receive anything back that was substantive from any of the city departments. There were no concerns about servicing that. And then on the other, as far as Lake County, we did not get any comments back from Lake County Public Works. We will resend and ask again because normally they're on the ball sending those back, but we didn't get anything back on this one. I would suspect, I would expect that they would want roadway improvements of some type, significant roadway improvements. They're not one to miss that.
That was going to be my question.
Yes, sir. And we wouldn't move it forward until we got comments back. We would not move it forward to City Commission until we got those comments back, but we can get with Seth and his crew over there and find out. Per the public responses, of course, now that, again, this was sent out with all the notices that are required with the 200-foot buffer and advertisement in the paper and the signage, and we got numerous comments back. So I assume a lot of people are here for that. Mostly regarding road access, nearby wells, habitat, congestion, concern about low-income residents. And I'd like to go ahead and, if I may, read the recommendations into the record.
Mm-hmm.
for the project River Fox Commons Small-Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment from Lake County Urban High Density to City of Leesburg Low Density Residential. Small-Scale Comp Plan 23-461. Planning and Zoning recommends approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the project meets the requirements of Chapter 163.3187 Florida statutes for small-scale comprehensive plan amendments. Two, the proposed request for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment is compatible with the adjacent future land use designations of Lake County Urban High Density and City of Leesburg Low Density Residential. Three, the proposed request under case number PUD 23462 is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County R6 Urban Residential, C1 Neighborhood Commercial, and City of Leesburg R1 Low Density Residential. And four, the proposed future land use designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. The action requested is vote to approve the staff's recommendation to change the future land use of the subject property from Lake County Urban High Density to City of Leesburg Low Density Residential and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for consideration. Under the recommendation for the zoning case for River Fox Commons rezoning from Lake County R6 Urban Residential to City of Leesburg PUD. For PUD 23-462, the Planning and Zoning Division is recommending approval of this request for the following reasons. One, the proposed request for PUD zoning is compatible with the current surrounding zoning districts of Lake County R6 Urban Residential, Lake County C1 Neighborhood Commercial, and City of Leesburg R1 Low Density Residential. Two, the proposed future land use designation of City of Leesburg Low Density Residential is compatible with adjacent properties having future land use designations of low density residential, medium density residential, and industrial, with properties in Lake County having urban high density and City of Leesburg Low Density Residential. The site 3 is located near existing city utilities, which are available at Deborah Avenue. 4, the proposed zoning designation for the site is consistent with the city's growth management plan, future land use element goal 1, objective 1.6. And finally, the action requested is to vote to approve the proposed rezoning from Lake County R6 Urban Residential District to City of Leesburg PUD Plan Unit Development and forward this recommendation to the City Commission for their consideration. Mr. Chairman, what they're wanting to do is the 92 units here, and that's the entirety of the development here. What we're saying is you got to have 50 feet off this area here, 25 feet completely undisturbed buffer all the way around, 50 feet minimum from the property line to the vertical wall of the building, 100 feet on the sides, excuse me, I think I got my numbers wrong, but 50 feet on the back, 100 feet on the sides, and 100 feet on the front. So this is all left, and there's a considerable amount of wetlands and flood zone out here, so it's basically protected. That protects the neighbors over here. We're not doing access off of Deborah or anywhere like that. It's coming right through here, and this is what we want to find out is what's Lake County want to do with Gregory Road? Or do they want to punch out over here? What does Lake County want to do? Because we don't have legal authority as the city over those roadways. What the applicant is showing is wanting to come through Gregory and have an emergency out here.
Yes.
And I think that's doable, but I think Gregory is going to need some, if this is approved all the way through, which we don't know, but through the process. But Gregory's going to need some help, and they need to punch something on a secondary. So other than that, it's a pretty standard PUD. But I would like to note that the zoning and future land use in Lake County is higher than what we're allowing. And by concentrating this, you don't have it spread out all over the development, so you're saving a bunch of land and creating some large buffers that would otherwise not be there. And that's hard to understand, but that's what's happening.
Okay. Any questions of staff?
Yes. Is this age restricted, senior living?
It's been presented to us as a senior living 55-plus community. And it was sent to the school board, and the school board noted that as well, that it was presented to them as a 55-plus. If you're in a 55-plus community, then you don't have to pay the school impact fees if you get a letter from the county attorney stating that in the covenants and restrictions, there is a requirement for 55-plus. So that cuts down on the noise, it cuts down greatly on the traffic, it cuts down on a number of things. I don't think we could have supported it as a standard apartment complex here.
No.
As a senior unit, that's a different matter.
And this green area is just going to stay undisturbed? No,
Yes, sir.
no lighting or anything that's going to affect the neighbors?
The lighting, I don't have anything particular in the PUD other than dark sky lighting on this, but the lighting is going to be mainly concentrated in here and perhaps a little bit around the pool.
Yeah,
But
as long as it's black sky.
yeah, as long as it's the dark sky.
Dark sky.
And then there's a gazebo in this general area. Now, keep in mind, this is conceptual and based on the actual geology and geography out here. They might have to shift a few things a little bit. But what we're just trying to do is make sure that there are significant buffers for the residents along Maridale, Deborah, Amanda. In Gregory Road, I don't know any other way in and out. But I don't feel like there's going to be a ton of traffic.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one. Is there a reason that the whole complex could be brought further south a little bit to alleviate some of the problems that people on the north border may have?
As long as the engineering allowed it, in other words, if the soil could handle it, then I don't see any reason why it couldn't. If the applicant wishes to speak on that, that's fine, but staff would have no objection to bringing it southward, none at all. Trying to center it on the property would be great from staff's perspective to give as much buffer in each direction as possible. And I would ask you to keep in mind that the actual soil borings are not done yet normally. I could ask the applicant, I do not know, but normally they wouldn't be done at this stage. They've looked at the lay of the land and tried to get it at the dry spot, but once the borings are in and they can tell the strength of the soils and what they can and can't take from an engineering perspective, then I think it would be possible, but I could not being an engineer, I couldn't tell you.
We can ask the applicant when he gets up
Should there
here.
be approval? Can we include that as part of an option for the approval?
We could word something that says.
Like study that would show.
Yes, sir.
It might.
More of a buffer.
Yeah, it might disallow them to build if it's not possible, soil-wise. But we can always, that can always be put in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Not to speak for you.
And that would be fine with staff if you want us to
Yeah.
come up with some wording that would increase the buffer in some way.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, because it's just kind of
It's
up there in that corner.
So much room,
Yeah.
and the objections from several people or a proximity objection.
And I do recall one of the objections was that her well was 10 feet from her property line.
Yeah.
And I want to be sure to put on the record that this, again, is like every other development, that new development in the city of Leesburg. No well or septic is allowed here. It would all be on city water and wastewater.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Is the applicant here? If you'll state your name and address, please.
Sure will. Stephen Bien, that's B as in boy, I-E-N, address 8508 Kentucky Derby Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33556. Commissioners, appreciate the time to present and discuss with you all. I did hear the suggestions, and we absolutely can look at adding more to the buffer. This is, as was suggested and stated by staff, is at this point a conceptual drawing from an architectural perspective. We do some really exceptional senior product throughout the Southeast. and over design and can do a myriad of different sort of jetting the buildings in different directions and sort of thing to create not just the aesthetically pleasing building, but also provide the buffers that all have suggested would be warranted here. So we would encourage and to explore that with staff as well to make to move the building around to satisfy everyone, including our neighbors, because that's one of our biggest goals is also to be a good neighbor. This will be, as was suggested, a 55 and over senior project. It's really for the seniors that can't afford to possibly live in the villages, but still need housing. The need is growing dramatically in this country for senior housing, and it's a footprint that we've served throughout the southeast. You'll find that it'll be very low traffic count. Within our transactions, we really highly amenitize the transaction. So within the actual properties, we even have things like a wellness and center for visiting physicians, so that the seniors have very little reason to venture out other than perhaps small grocery shopping and other medical matters that they may have. But we're really excited about the opportunity, and again, any way we can do. We try to design this with the express intent for the neighbors to understand that we want to just be a partner and not something that's that they don't like. We made sure we didn't ask for any density greater than what was already provided by the county. We made sure that we put as much buffer and tree and undisturbed tree and natural areas as possible. So we're really at the end of the day, if you see it, especially when we work with some of the setbacks, I don't think any of the neighbors would even know it was there, other than for the fact that there's a driveway. So, but we're open to working with staff and the commission to figure out whatever works to benefit all, including the neighborhood. So I'll leave it at that.
Any questions of the applicant?
I have one. I always have an issue with ingress and egress.
Sure.
And when you have one way in and one way, that's it. For emergency vehicles or for any other reason, have you considered any access onto Colonial? Or
we have. In fact, we would be willing to do so. We had the dark shaded green there. We do have an easement agreement already with the seller who sold us the land. So we have no problem exploring and expanding that if necessary, to add a secondary ingress-egress as well.
Yeah, Dan mentioned that they'd have to go to the county.
It's important for fire safety and things of that nature.
Certainly, because certainly with the kind of households that we'll have with the seniors, there is going to be some visiting, emergency circumstances, and we need to make sure.
Emergency, it gets chaotic, and when you only have one way in, and that way in gets chaotic, you have nothing in it.
Absolutely.
It just compounds the issue, and I would be not for it if it wasn't some sort of emergency exit.
Absolutely. We will, at a minimum, make that onto Colonial, as we will do everything in our power to make that an emergency, at a minimum, emergency ingress, egress, if with maybe a breakaway gate. If not, then something even more profound, that's a full ingress, egress if the county would allow.
Yes.
What kind, Dan, is that just a straight single car road, or is that a boulevard type road that's there?
Are you asking about Gregory? Or Gregory is a straight single family 2-lane road. And that's why we're anticipating that. We don't know, because we can't speak for them, but we anticipate that Lake County would want some form of upgrade there.
And we're prepared to do so.
Yeah, because even if you didn't get the full thing, a boulevard would be should be an option. There's plenty of land.
It would be a tough one, because then you have to go in and take property from the neighbors.
Oh, okay.
And
so you couldn't just do that on the subject property?
We could do it on the subject property. We could widen it out, but and what normally would happen there is you'd have your signs. Usually they're 5 feet tall, like a subdivision entrance type sign, except for it's for these units. that's not a requirement, but it's normally something that they're going to want to do so everybody knows where you're going.
Right.
And you can do it on one side of the road or both as a nice entryway feature. I want to bring up on the emergency side exit, because there's already an easement agreement there, that makes it real simple to put in an emergency type access. And under the current technology, there's often a frequency, and I compare it to like a garage
Yelp.
door opener.
Yeah, Yelp frequency.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
can Yelp
And
it.
the fire department, police department just click and get in there. And we don't have, civilians don't have access to that frequency, I guess, or you have to be a really,
Yeah, I think
really
that
nerd guy to do it.
The neighbors
To know
would
it.
like to know that that wasn't a thoroughfare, if they could,
Right.
because somebody would be using it to cut through.
Right. We
So
don't
I
want
think
that.
the people on Gregory would appreciate knowing that basically that's a dead end.
Yes, ma'am. They would. But we don't have to have a crash gate. We don't have to have the siren. You just do the frequency clicker. There's different standards, but I think that would work real well.
Could
there.
they also have a gated entry option there for that part as well?
If they choose to.
For the households, we certainly could add that to make, if it felt as if for the neighbors that it would be an obstruction, so you wouldn't have the pass through or
Right,
somebody
I think that
kind
would
of-
be a deterrent because that would keep the cars from shuffling through there for the neighbors.
We could put a gated entrance in that.
I think that it would be a nice addition to that for the neighbors as well as the residents. But once someone knows that they can't just go through that way, that's going to stop a lot of traffic from down that road because
Absolutely.
that is a relatively calm road.
Yes, and we'd like to keep it that way. And we have no problem with that. We have gated entrances in several of our properties.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anybody from the audience? Were you sworn in? No. Okay. Would you please stand? Anybody else going to speak that need to be sworn in? Last time. I'm very competitive. I tried.
Good job, man.
I do.
We'll sit down.
Well, you got to come up here.
Okay.
State your name and your address, please.
Karen Davis, 9161 Silver Lake Drive, Leesburg, Florida. I just have a question about how many units did they say were going to be there?
92.
92. So 92 units times maybe 2 people per unit that are 55. These people are still driving, right? I am over 55. I'm still driving. I do more than go to the grocery store and the doctor's office. I'm still working. So these people are not going to be isolated. They're going to be using Gregory Road frequently. I just want to point that out. So I don't know if a road study needs to be done, but I think it's being downplayed how much that road will be used. And that should be taken into consideration.
No. Will there be a traffic study? I mean, when the county
Yes, sir.
addresses that?
Absolutely. And it has to, the new traffic added by those units has to not exceed the level of service on the roadway. Otherwise, that's where the improvements come in, and they can be significant.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that people realize that these are 55-year-old people that are active and doing things. They're not just sitting and relaxing, doing nothing.
Yes.
We're all still young.
We all 55. Me too.
That's why I was snickering earlier. 'Cause that's me.
There's several of us that are over 55.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak for or against? Okay. We'll close to the public and for discussion and render a decision. If there's no discussion, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, regarding SSPC 23461 and PUD 23462.
Well, we'll just do the first one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hey, I should have read it. I apologize.
And 23,461, I vote we approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Commissioner Senior,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And case number PUD 23-462, I'll open it for a discussion. And if there's no discussion, I'll accept the motion.
Motion is for PUD 23,462, motions to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowersox,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Senior.
Yes. All right. Ayes have it. Okay. Is there anything else to be brought before this body? If not, I'll accept a motion to close.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
All right.